So this video is going to be a video on the evidence of chemical change lab, so you can read the intro on your own and see what materials are used, and then we will get into the procedure right about here. So the first step will be to get a hot water bath going. So in a second here you'll see the hot water bath. It's got to be about 2/3 full, and you're going to set it all the way to high. Now the next step is you're going to mix copper nitrate and sodium hydroxide. So you've got sodium hydroxide and copper nitrate here. You can see 1.5 molar sodium hydroxide and 0.2 molar. We've got the volumes measured out in the graduated cylinders here. 5 milliliters of sodium hydroxide, 10 milliliters of copper nitrate, and we are going to mix them. So at this point you see a dark blue precipitate has formed. So that that solid is a precipitate, we call it. Now you'll record your observations at the bottom where it says observation. And you got to make sure you record the liquid and the solid. So you can see that the solid is blue, but the liquid, you can see if you let the solid settle, the liquid's actually still clear. So I want you to record both those. A blue precipitate, clear liquid for the observation. So pause the video if you need to. Then the next step is to put the test tube into the hot water bath. Now it's really important as you heat this to make sure you stir it occasionally, because what can happen is the bottom of the test tube gets really hot, and then all of a sudden that liquid at the bottom will boil and a bubble will form, and it can spray the contents of the test tube out. That is called bumping. So I'm going to just let you watch and observe the change as this occurs. So you might be able to notice that there are black specks forming at this point. So right now this is step 4. So you'll be recording your observations under the step 4 part of the lab procedure. There's an observation there. So you can see right now, if you want to already write this down, the precipitate, or the solid that's forming, is black. And then when this is done, it'll get moved to a cold water bath that you can see to the left. And then you let it settle so that we can observe the solid and the liquid part. We already can see that the solid is black, but we got to let it settle so that we can see what the liquid looks like. That is a test tube holder used to move that. And then you'll be able to see here I have a close-up of the liquid layer coming up here in about a second. So you can see that the solid is black and the liquid is still clear. So if you let it settle, you can actually see the clear liquid layer. So that's your step 4 observation. Make sure you record the solid and the liquid. Then step 5 is to add hydrochloric acid. You see the bottle of hydrochloric acid. It's measured out in a graduated cylinder. Then when you mix it and stir it, you'll see what happens. So you can see the precipitate is starting to dissolve. So for your step 5 observation, you're not actually going to have a precipitate observation. You'll just have a liquid observation. So you'll only record the color of the liquid. And it's kind of hard to tell. I tried to have a white background. It's a very light blue color. So the liquid is a very light blue color, and there is no precipitate. So this is the step 5 here. So take a second to record your observations. Now step 6 is place an aluminum wire into the solution. And there's actually 2 observations and 2 reactions here for part 6 and part 7. Part 6 is the reaction of the, well, there's actually, for part 6, there's 2 reactions happening here. The aluminum is reacting with the copper chloride to form copper metal. And this is a very slow reaction. So you see, like, nothing's really happening here. This is over about the course of 15 minutes. The next couple videos, you can see some brown chunks there. So every few minutes I took a short video of this. So the aluminum is reacting with copper. The copper is depositing onto the wire as the wire dissolves. But the wire is also reacting with hydrochloric acid. So you can see that there's bubbles forming. So the aluminum reacts with hydrochloric acid to form aluminum chloride and hydrogen gas. So 2 observations. 1, the brown copper is depositing. And 2, the aluminum is reacting with the hydrochloric acid to give off a gas, hydrogen gas. So this is part 6. You'll have 2 observations there. And then number 7, it says, observe the copper formed in the test tube and compare it to a sample of copper wire. That is going to come up here in a little bit. So I got one more snippet here of, you can see a lot of gases being produced, and you can see more and more copper is precipitating out and depositing onto the aluminum wire. And the aluminum wire is slowly dissolving. And then here, just compare what is the copper wire you see on the right. How does that compare to the copper that you see? It's kind of the fluffy looking copper on the wire. How do they compare? So record your observations and start answering the questions in the back of the lab.